There's a little known fact about some of the most common drugs Americans take, from antibiotics to heart medicine to antidepressants. 80% of the key ingredients used to make them come from overseas, mainly from China.
China's stated aim is to become the pharmacy to the world.
Rosemary Gibson is the author of China RX.
How much of our drug supply is controlled by China?
We're so dependent on China that if they shut the door on sending medicines to us, our hospitals would shut down within a couple of months.
In the case of some drugs, like antibiotics, China has a total stranglehold.
We can't make penicillin anymore. The last penicillin plant in the United States closed in 2004.
In March, a prominent Chinese economist suggested his country's control of the market could be used to send a message. If exports are reduced, he said, the medical systems of some Western countries will not run well.
Basically, we've outsourced our entire industry to China. That is a strategic vulnerability in and of itself.
John Adams is a retired brigadier general.
How are pharmaceuticals turned into weapons of war?
Pharmaceuticals are necessary for our warfighters. They're necessary for our population to remain healthy, to cure diseases. If those are either toxic or they're not available, we're going to get sick and we will die.
The U.S. and China are not at war, but there are tensions over trade. China's state-run paper said this week there's little chance the government would deliberately harm innocent Americans by cutting off the flow of antibiotics.
Well, trust is everything. And do we trust?
There have already been problems with contamination. In 2008, there were dozens of deaths tied to batches of the blood thinner heparin. And in the past year, more than 50 recalls of some of the most popular blood pressure medicines, contaminated in China and India with chemicals linked to cancer.
How did we get here? How did this happen?
We got here because it's cheap, because we look at the next quarter's profits.
The pressure for low-cost drugs pushed manufacturing to China.
We have to reinvest in making medicines here in the United States.
An expensive proposition that could drive drug prices up.
For commodities like oil and food, we would never put all of our production, all of our eggs in one basket in China. We shouldn't be doing that with our medicines.
Stephanie, the fact that we rely on China for drugs that Americans take and need every day is alarming. What can be done?
Well, the only way to regain control, Lester, is to move manufacturing back to the U.S. But experts tell us that private companies aren't going to do that on their own. They're going to need the federal government's help. And Lester, that means money.